entrance requirements will strengthen the appeal of Jamaica as a travel destination of choice, allowing the tourism sector and the wider economy to continue to recover. And I want to pause here, Madam Speaker, to pay tribute to our teams led by our Prime Minister himself, and I'll have more to say about that, including our Minister of Health, the Honourable Christopher Tufton, and the team from the Ministry of Health, the Minister of Security, Minister of Local Government, the Minister of Transport, and I could go on, the entire Cabinet, for the concerted effort and the combined strength that we offered in managing this process. As a matter of fact, you know, I could go on and on just talking about that and how the world has looked on with envy and admiration on the way in which the government of Jamaica has managed this crisis. And I know that the opposition played a role, Madam Speaker, and I do not want in any way to reduce the effectiveness of their participation and contribution, because we don't always contribute by saying yes. We contribute greatly sometimes when we even differ on points. So I want to pay tribute also to the team from our loyal opposition who have given support in all of this exercise. So, Madam Speaker, we now intend to move forward with some new targets. You know, you recall that we had established the 5x5 prior to the pandemic to get 5 million visitors, to earn $5 billion US, and to increase by 5,000 the number of rooms and our employment to 125,000, and we wanted to do that in 5 years. We started in 2016, it should have ended 2021, but it was overtaken by the pandemic. So now, Madam Speaker, we are going back to our growth targets, this time with 2025 in our vision. So we will sustain this growth that I indicated to you that we started since the recovery program began. And Madam Speaker, as we pivot for tourism dominance, we will be facilitating investments, strengthening linkages, investing in human capital development, diversifying our tourism product, building out a supportive tourism infrastructure, and creating a destination assurance framework that assures an authentic, safe, and seamless visitor experience. Madam Speaker, I will expound on these areas as I continue with my presentation and to show how we plan to create a framework for growth that is more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable. Madam Speaker, the pandemic has presented the industry with the greatest challenge we have ever encountered. All our prior accomplishments, as well as effective strategies, policies, and plans, have laid a firm foundation on which we must now build back even stronger to meet the new demands of the post-19 tourism industry. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to announce that Jamaica has been named one of the world's fastest recovering countries and the Caribbean's fastest growing tourism destination. This is due to the raft of effective health and safety protocols and our innovative resilient corridor. The resilient corridors, Madam Speaker, which cover most of the island's tourism region, allowed visitors to experience more of the country's distinctive offerings, as many COVID-19 compliant sites across and along the corridors have been approved by our health authorities for visits. Since the reopening of the tourism industry in June 2020, and I want to make the point, Jamaica is the only country that opened its borders in 2020 and never closed throughout the pandemic to date. So the establishment of the protocols governing the corridors have kept both guests and workers secure, resulting in Jamaica becoming one of the most sought-after destinations. It is fitting, therefore, Madam Speaker, that the Center of Disease Control, and I want you to listen to this because it's a tribute also to our health authorities and the minister, that the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, commonly called CDC, which is the National Public Health Agency of the United States, yesterday classified Jamaica level 1. On their COVID-19 threat level system. And if you recall, we were at 4, just on the edge of being declared a place never, never to go. And within a short time, we are now at 1, and I think this is the absolute best position for any country to be in. And it puts Jamaica in an elite league with just a handful of countries globally for our very low COVID incidence rate. Madam Speaker, let me take the moment to repeat the congratulations, because it is in order, to our Minister of Health, our Prime Minister, and the entire team for this tremendous job that we have done. And nevertheless, Madam Speaker, this is not the time to get too complacent. In our space, the Tourism Vaccination Task Force, which we established, will continue the facilitation program for tourism employees to be vaccinated across the country. For we are still cognizant of the fact that strains still exist, and they emerge from time to time, and that vaccination remains the only protection that we still have in a broad way. So the team under Permanent Secretary Jennifer Griffith and President Clifton Reeder will continue to operate and to ensure that we strengthen the level of vaccination among our tourism workers, which incidentally, we did a good job with, if I'm allowed to say so, because we're up to 70%, which is more than double the national average. So, Madam Speaker, Jamaica continues to further entrench its position as a leader on the international stage over the past year. This has been achieved through the considered and deliberate effort of the Jamaican government in its bilateral, hemispheric, and multilateral engagements, coupled with the strong intrinsic value of brand Jamaica. Even as the Tourism Ministry remains focused on our mission for inclusive and sustainable tourism that will influence innovation and economic growth for the benefit of all Jamaicans, we have long recognized that tourism is more than an economic vehicle. Tourism has great potential as a tool to foster partnership and diplomacy in the furtherance of our vision for Jamaica as a developed country. To this end, Madam Speaker, the Ministry has sought to ensure Jamaica's presence and strong participation in relevant regional and international fora to keep Jamaica top of mind as a global tourism leader and secure consideration of national tourism priorities in the broader global discussions. The Ministry continues to engage actively in the work of the Organization of American States in the area of tourism, and in our capacity as chair of the Inter-American Committee on Tourism, SITUR, and also as chair of the established working group for the development of a recovery action plan for the airlines and tourism industry. In addition, Madam Speaker, Jamaica's leadership of the UNWTO Regional Commission of the Americas ended with the virtual hosting of the 66th session of the Regional Commission in June last year, with the physical presence of ministers of tourism here from Barbados, Saudi Arabia, and elsewhere. Madam Speaker, as you can see, we have been active over the past period in this area, and we will not rest on our laurels. In this regard, the Ministry recently established a Department of Tourism Trade and International Relations to build on the tourism diplomacy and improve coordination of tourism participation in the international arena, with close collaboration, of course, with our Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. And you know, Madam Speaker, sometimes because the Minister is not in this chamber, we overlook perhaps the tremendous contribution that she is making in the international sphere, and particularly her work in this pandemic and the recovery efforts. And I want to use this opportunity to pay tribute to our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Senator the Honorable Tamina Johnson-Smith. Madam Speaker, Jamaica continues to maintain its status, indeed, as a global leader in resilience and sustainability. And we are preeminent in this area. So when we announced on February 17th as a Global Tourism Resilience Day in Dubai, Jamaica made history. The annual day will focus on the ability of countries globally to develop the capacity to adapt to international shocks and to predict their responses with more accuracy. It was also to assist countries, Madam Speaker, in comprehending and reducing the effects of these shocks on their development, as well as managing and recovering faster. Madam Speaker, it is not only that it is well known that we established the first ever Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center here at the University of the West Indies, but also that the rest of the world is taking note of it and also embracing other centers in their space. And to date, we have 4 other centers in 4 parts of the world: in Nairobi, at the Kenyatta University, in Amman, for the MENA division, that is the Middle East and the Northern Africa, at the Amman National University, and that institution we named the Talib Rifai Center in honor of a former Secretary General of the UNWTO, who was in fact involved with us when we established the center here in Jamaica. We are proud to say that we had at Expo in Dubai perhaps the first and most significant global conference on resilience in tourism. And we were able to get the support and approbation of the World Travel and Tourism Council, the UNWTO, the Pacific Area Tourism Authority, the Caribbean Hotel and Tourist Association, the CHA, the United Nations, as well as the Organization of American States. No other, and I say it with great pride and much humility, no other country has had that level of endorsement from all the major gatekeepers of the world for any single event that it has done. And I think that it is a tribute to all of us. Madam Speaker, we continue not just to provide technical guidance and support, but we also made sure that we were recording and codifying the effects of our work and the effort that we have put into repositioning tourism. The result of which is Jamaica is the first country to have codified any response to COVID-19 in the tourism space. And we are proud of this book, which the Executive Director of the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center and myself co-edited, and we launched it in Dubai, in Amman, in Canada, where we established a center at George Brown University last week, and on Sunday at the University of the West Indies when Professor Bettles himself launched the book. We're excited about this. We go to London with it end of the year, and there are 5 other countries that we will be establishing resilience centers over the next 3 months. Madam Speaker, the development of a sustainable framework and strategy to help boost tourism resilience and increase its sustainability during times of crisis is indeed in high gear. When it comes to sustainable goods and services, the initiative will include policy, regulatory and institutional framework, as well as suitable inducements to promote supply and productive capacity. This will address shortage, and this is very important, I will have more to say on that later on, supply shortages, allowing us to keep a larger portion of the industry's foreign exchange earnings here in Jamaica. And I'll have a little bit to say about that later on. Among our priority policy in this year, Madam Speaker, which we are finalizing for this year, will be the well-spoken of and all sometimes abused, if I'm allowed to say so, water sports policy. And this has caused quite a bit of concern, although it represents a very critical area of the tourism experiences for which there is a demographic that is really very strong in terms of its earning capacity. The ministry, in collaboration with the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, has developed and implemented a climate change and multi-hazard contingency program, very critical in the frame of dealing with resilience. We have also established a destination assurance strategy and policy, first country in the region, Madam Speaker, to do such a project. And we are very proud that the Cabinet of Jamaica has approved the white paper and the green paper, and we will be taking this to this Honorable House in due course. And this is the text that will guide destination assurance during this immediate post-COVID and indeed the COVID period. No other country has a document of this sort at this time. Madam Speaker, we have also developed the policies on networks. And this is very critical because it is the networks that are going to bring what we call the moving parts that make tourism functional and that offers the scope for jobs and for more innovative actions and innovative ideas and creative output that brings economic value and enrichment to our people. So we were able to convert, as you know, the Tourism Enhancement Fund into an agency that is focusing now heavily on the networks, focusing on linkages, focusing on training and human capital development, focusing on innovation and risk management, and focusing on small and medium tourism enterprises, driving the process of human capital development in that small and limited space, but also providing resource support through the Exim Bank for the funding of creative ideas by these small and medium enterprises. We, in the process, Madam Speaker, provide showcasing arrangements too, to enable them to show off their goods, to connect with their buyers, to develop contracts, and at the end of all, to be able to identify economic returns from these activities. Madam Speaker, we coordinate many programs also with the World Bank and with the IDB and other multilateral agencies in order to bring capacity to the small and medium tourism partners, especially in deep rural Jamaica. So the whole business of broadening our base of understanding of what happens in rural Jamaica and how, in fact, the small enterprises can insert themselves better in the tourism value chain is part of the study that we are doing through the help of the World Bank under their Ready To program. We also have the development of an integrated base geographic information system, that is GIS mapping, so we can know where the suppliers are, we can know where our young farmers are, we can know where our craft entrepreneurs are, we can know where our artists are, and we can tie them into a central database so that they can ensure that they get supplies sold and help for development. We are also updating the existing community tourism toolkit. So, Madam Speaker, these are many initiatives being pursued by our ministry and its public bodies that will provide a framework for the development of a more resilient and sustainable tourism sector. Madam Speaker, as we view this period, you know, and it's funny, our scientists have been looking at how the world has evolved since what is called man on Earth or Anthropocene Earth. And this is being regarded as the Anthropocene era. And this Anthropocene era has been affected, yes, Anthropocene, you know, like anthropology? Yes, man on Earth, yes. You know, because there were other people before man on Earth, or perhaps other beings. Yes. So, Madam Speaker, yes. Send him to the book written by Professor Roots. So, Madam Speaker, you know, it's funny that the world has never experienced a total pause since man. We've had disruptions that covered continents. We recall when there was a great earthquake in Iceland, that the plumes of which covered Asia and much of Europe for 2 years. Vegetation lost, millions of people died. But North and South America were never touched. So this pandemic is the first global event that has touched every continent simultaneously. No one had a chance to give a story about how we managed it, even how it is affecting me versus you. But what it did was to pause the world. And so the scientists have called that the anthropause. And that is a period when nothing happened really. You were at home. That the animals got a chance to roam the wild well without any hunters. The ocean was there without being traversed by ships polluting it. The fishes got a chance to grow better. And man in general breathed and breathed well. But it had implications because it stopped movement of people, it stopped trade, it stopped economic activities, it stopped productive activities, and it affected tourism perhaps more than any other industry on earth.
House Leader, we had... Check it. Or House Leader. Take it off. We have been benefiting from a beautiful sectoral presentation from
Madam Speaker,
our Minister of Tourism.
may the Speaker's time be extended to allot him sufficient time to complete the presentation.
Member Mallow, Fourth Minister, I was actually going to ask House Leader if he could stand up and request additional time for the Minister of Tourism.
You know, Madam Speaker, I suspected that was what you were about to do, but I thought on this occasion we would save him that duty.
Thank you, Minister. The question is that the Minister's time be extended to allow for the completion of his presentation. Those in favour? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister? Thanks, Minister Bartlett.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thanks to my colleague for allowing the extra time required and indeed for their kind indulgence. So, Madam Speaker, at the point we were referring to the fact that this pause of 2 years plus that the world has seen has affected tourism disproportionately in terms of other industries. Madam Speaker, as a result, the COVID-19 lockdown caused drastic global reduction in human mobility. The cruise ships stopped, the airlines stopped flying, and all dramatically reduced services across the world. Cities were shut down or faced curfews, which caused a lock-on effect on air cargo and global trade. The ecological effect of the replenishment of flora and fauna, improvement in the quality of air. We saw cleaner rivers, as I indicated earlier, less noise pollution, undisturbed and calm wildlife. But that was the pause. But now, Madam Speaker, we are out of the pause and we are into the pulse. So we are now into anthropulse. And Madam Speaker, 2 years later, as restrictions are gradually being lifted, a surge in travel activity beyond pre-pandemic levels now seems imminent. The world is going back in high gear. This reversal and lockdown effects globally could cause a global spike in human mobility, which scientists have referred to, of course, as the anthropulse. People are keen to make up for time lost over the last 2 years, planning to see friends and family, catch up with work commitments, So this pause, Madam Speaker, is now quickly revealing the effects of the pause. I want you to listen to this carefully. So the effect of this time, we are seeing widespread global supply and logistic chains disruptions. We are seeing great impact on commercial and personal activities and human resource constraints. And here in Jamaica, in our tourism industry, we're seeing that. The workers of the industry have not been coming back in a uniform way. Some have gone into their own personal endeavors, become entrepreneurs of their own. Some have morphed into other industries. Some have migrated into other space for good reason, that we train and develop their capacity and offered them portability so that they could go and peddle their wares anywhere in the world. And as a result of that, we are seeing something of a negative employment situation in the industry at this time. Some hotels are really low on their staff recruitment. I wouldn't want to indicate some of the numbers that have been coming to me, but the implications of that is very clear. Implications in terms of efficiencies, implications in terms of the quality of the service that is offered, and implications in terms of the competitiveness of the destination in the long run. And that is on the human capital side, and we will talk about that later on. But in terms of the supplies side, in terms of the material goods that are critical for the operation of the tourism plan, there are these issues as well. So that we are finding that there's shortage of beverage, there's shortage of food, there's shortage of all sorts of resources that are critical to maintaining the strength and quality of the experience of the visitor in the destination. So we have to respond to that. And I'm very pleased to tell you that the Ministry of Tourism has spent some time thinking through this process, Madam Speaker. And I want to make a proposal because I think that this is something we have to look at carefully. Jamaica is in the mode of developing the logistics hub. And our special economic zones represent an opportunity for us to look at tourism supplies logistics as a critical area for development. We have established ourselves as a premier destination with competence. We understand what is required to make the industry move. But nearshoring opportunities that will allow for Jamaica to provide much of what is required for the Eastern Caribbean and also for the countries within our space that have similar products as us is looming and inviting. And I'm proposing, and I've in fact established a team headed by Wilfred Bagaloo to study and look at the establishment of a tourism supplies logistics hub to be positioned in the free zones of Jamaica to enable production for our local market as well as the international market. Bagaloo has done some work on it so far, and we are putting some dollars together, and we're coming to you, Minister of Finance, because we have to now look at some fiscal architecture that will allow for this to happen, and even for a recognition that tourism is in fact an export industry, and to be given and accorded the fiscal arrangements that are consistent with the export sector. So we're looking forward to that. I have had discussions in Dubai with one of the largest free zone management team, and they understand what is required. And I just want to indicate that sometimes we underestimate the breadth and the expanse of the tourism activities. And we tend to feel that tourism is about housekeepers and bartenders. Important as they are, critical. But tourism embraces aviation in a big way. It embraces maritime activities in a huge way. It embraces the Internet of Things and we have to understand that the future of tourism is going to be predicated heavily on the Internet of Things. It's going to be a new world of virtual experiences, you know, where augmented reality and mixed reality is going to play a big role, where robotics is going to define the extent to which service provision is enabled in hotels, where you're going to find that Siri is going to be a big lady in tourism, directing traffic and enabling an understanding of how to traverse your areas. So the use of machine intelligence as a driver of the future of tourism must be understood. And so therefore we have to begin to train and to build the capacity within our industry to understand this, to be able to manipulate the cognitive systems and to be able to stay ahead of the game. The hope, Madam Speaker, is that out of this effort, we'll be able to attract a wider range of skill sets to appreciate the value overall of tourism. Because this logistics center that we're talking about will not only be about movement of goods, but it will have to do also with managing technology and marketing. Because much of the marketing expenses that the tourist board, for example, have to carry now outside of Jamaica can be procured right here. Because the technology is no longer proprietary, as knowledge and information moves from the center to the periphery. Everybody now has access. Everybody now is linked. And with this little thing that I usually carry around and you hold in your hand called the Apple, everything is possible. In fact, it's moving to your watch. It's probably to even smaller gadgetry. Data and the management of data is going to define the way forward. And that's the new power, data. And tourism, we understand that. So we have established our Tourism Recovery Task Force. And this task force, starting with the logistics hub that I mentioned with Wilfred Bagaloo as chair, we have a market and investment committee headed by John Lynch. We have the protocols team, and we continue to carry protocols because we can't avoid that. We're still in a pandemic. And notwithstanding the good work that has been done and the level of management that we have attained and the respect that we've gained in the world, we are still in a pandemic. So one of the very, very powerful consultants from Pricewaterhouse, which we engaged very early in the game, from as early as March 2020, to work on protocols with us, Jessica Shannon, has agreed to continue to chair and to head that committee. Entertainment events, to be headed by Delano Seavright. The Economic Capital Market and Debt Management Committee, and I want to make an emphasis on this, because during the pandemic, the term we use in the industry is that we bled cash. We bled cash during that period. And some people said we burned cash during that period. And we ended up having to deal with debt, which was acquired in the previous period when there was growth and ebullience and everybody's spirit was high. Private sector debt, of course. When we say we. I think you point very well, Minister, not the ministry. The industry. And so now we had during the period various mechanisms and tools that we worked with. And we had the banks, for example, and the financial institutions who were offering moratorium on debt, who were lowering rates in some instances and so on. But that period has passed. And now you have to recover, pay back your debt, deal with the cash flow issues, and grow. And that's a tough call. And therefore, we've established a team under John Miles, again with Wilfred Bagaloo and a number of other people from the banking sector, to look and examine how we could develop a debt and market capital mechanism, perhaps a special purpose vehicle that could perhaps capture all the debt that is there and to put it into a particular pool and to arrange some fiscal maneuvering. Minister doesn't like to hear me say that. I mean, Minister doesn't like me to say it. But some mix as I would put it, some mix of policy, fiscal and other arrangements to enable a managing of the debt in a manner that will not cause further disruption in the sector. And then we have the Legislative and Regulatory Environment Committee, which is headed by Chairman Ian Deere. Then the labor market, and this is very important, the labor market committee, and we are tying into it digital transformation. So we are saying the labor market and digital transformation for the reason that I mentioned as to where the future of work is going and how we see the tourism sector evolving over time and the role that technology is going to play in all of this. So we have Professor Lloyd Waller chairing that committee, and then we have a public communications committee which will be headed by Kingsley Roberts. Madam Speaker, the whole purpose of this is to develop a framework, a full framework, that will enable us, firstly, to look at the workers of the industry and the training capacity and the human challenges that we have within that space. We want, Madam Speaker, to see and examine properly and recognize and appreciate that over the past 2 years, there has been a seismic shift in the labor market with regards to the availability of workers, their needs, and the requirement of the tourism industry. Following the fallout from the pandemic-induced disruption to the tourism industry, many of our workers, as I said, found employment in other economic sectors. In addition, foreign players have been coming to the country to recruit our skilled tourism workers. As a result, we have lost 20,000 workers over the period, Madam Speaker. And we're not crying about it because it has been for their benefit. But we make the point that it creates a gap. So while it will be difficult for us to hold back these market forces, Madam Speaker, we continue our efforts in 2021 to train workers in the hospitality sector, as this is critical to resetting of our tourism industry and meeting the staffing needs of our over-expanding and ever-expanding industry. We are committed to producing a competitive and productive workforce that can take advantage of possibilities in the tourism and hospitality business. Madam Speaker, over the period we established the Jamaica Center for Tourism Innovation. We have trained 2,000 individuals who are now fully certified in hospitality services, spa supervisors, safe serve professionals, customer service professionals, and hospitality and training management aficionados in many regards. Madam Speaker, we've established the first ever associate degree program for high school students, and this is very important, that we were able to graduate 177 high school students a month and a half ago with associate degree in hospitality and customer service management, the first in the history of our country. The purpose of enabling this certification program in general is, of course, to build the portability of your workers, but also to enable them to have mobility within their workspace. We are committed to changing the labor market dynamics, not by way of legislation, not by way of forcing the market to act in a certain way, but by building capacity within the market that it cannot deny on the basis of equity and merit. And merit is critical, and that comes from training, certifying, making competent, and making qualified the workers of the tourism industry. And once they are merit, we say equity demands that they must not be denied, so that we will then fight to the last to ensure that the workers, the Jamaican workers, access to the highest levels in the tourism industry because of merit and equity. And that's the basis on which our training, so those people who believe that we should legislate, that you should never have workers from abroad or anywhere else doing any job, that's not the answer. The answer is to build the capacity to make sure that the merit that your workers have cannot be denied, and then you ensure that it isn't so. Madam Speaker, in developing capacity overall, we have also looked at how it is that our training must be relevant and what it is that we need to do to make sure that all elements that have capacity within the industry can be absorbed in the areas through the same two methods of merit and equity. And so, Madam Speaker, our Prime Minister, having recognized that there is a gap, in discussion with us and in looking at how we can help to fill that gap, and he made a point in his budget presentation and told the country that I would add value to what he said in that regard, that we are looking at how to ensure that the entertainment sector in Jamaica become more deeply involved and embedded in the tourism value chain. And already, Madam Speaker, we are training DJs for the hotels. Already we're training others, and we've graduated them in this way. But I think that tourism, like all other specialized areas of activity, require specialist skills. And every industry that is serious about upgrading and upskilling provides an opportunity for training, specialized training, where you're bringing people who have experience and who also have theoretical knowledge, the folks that we call pracademics, pracademics like us, who are both practical in terms that they are on the job and competent, and they are academics in terms of the pedagogic skills that they might have, and so on. So we bring them together, and the whole purpose, therefore, then, of establish this entertainment academy in Montego Bay at the convention center is to bring that mix together, so that we are training tourism appropriate entertainment providers. And we're not at all, saying anything negative about current institutions that are training, musicians and dancers, and creative artists and so on. No, by no means. But we're saying also that in order to ensure that we have fit-for-purpose arrangements, in order to ensure that we're training you to respond to the varied tastes of the industry and the demographics. Because in any given hotel at any time, as you know, there's a generational mix, and also ethnic mix, religious mix, and all sorts of mixes. And therefore, we have to make sure that our entertainment responds to that in general, and therefore, we will build the capacity so to do. So we are going to be putting $50 million this year in that whole process, so we could build out a facility which is fit for purpose to enable training in that particular area. Madam Speaker, the other area of critical importance for us in this regard is the building of ideas. And I ask you to permit me to make a point on this, because it is so critical. The future of tourism is based on ideas. Ideas is what define newness, innovation, and authenticity. And we are an industry that must always be authentic. And every time I go to a marketplace event, the first question that I'm asked is, what's new in Jamaica? What's different? What it is that you bring to the table that nobody else has. And so our job must be to be the cradle of that idea development, idea molding, idea honing, idea management, and the release of that idea in terms of conversion into material goods and services that is different and authentic. And so we have established, and I'm very happy that we are going to be part of this bigger policy initiative of the Ministry of Finance with regards to encouraging innovation and the development of incubators. And so last year, when we mooted the idea first, we started to do the thinking on it. And we are very happy that this year, Madam Speaker, we will be working with the Ministry of Finance and its team in relation to that, to build out effectively the innovation-based tourism incubator. And that's very important because we'll be looking and examining, along with the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center, a partnership to do groundbreaking initiatives in intellectual property, debt and equity grant financing, to look at prototyping and product development, mentorship and skills development. But we want to make the point that our idea is to find ideas out there, young people who have no financial backing. We're putting $31 million, Jamaica, into the program this year, as we seek to find through high schools, through community engagements, young people with ideas but no financial support. And we bring them to the table. And we look at those ideas. We match them with industry and with commercial activities too. And what we do is to provide them with leadership and direction to, in the first instance, the Exim Bank, where we have put $1 billion Jamaican dollars for the purpose of assisting small and medium enterprises and young people with ideas. Madam Speaker, the future of the world and us is predicated on that capacity within our human beings. Idea is the most powerful thing on earth. It's an awful thing to waste. And we are investing in ideas in tourism because that's the basis of the Blue Ocean strategy that we're talking about. To ensure that we can compete in another space, not in the space where everybody else in the Red Ocean where it's bloody, but in a new and dynamic area where we are different and extended, and we are seen for the special and peculiar offerings that Jamaica provides. So, Madam Speaker, in concluding on the issue of our human capital development strategies, the tourism industry continues to work with our workers in developing social solutions. And perhaps the most significant of them all is the historic, mandatory, and I want that point to be understood, Tourism Workers' Pension Scheme. And that pension scheme, Madam Speaker, is a game changer in terms of providing a social safety net for the workers of the industry. And these, when you talk to the workers, they will tell you the pain that they have had over many long years of toil in different areas. And at the end of that period, they end up in penury and unable to deal with their basic human requirements. That will stop. And by providing $1 billion Jamaican dollars to seed the fund, we have created a group of contributors called the Augmented Contributor, who we will enable, after only 5 years of contribution, starting at age 59, to be able to get a pension equivalent to those who would have been paying from age 19 or 20, as the case might be. And that is a record that Jamaica has set and a standard that we have provided. And I must warn that those in the industry or anywhere else who are giving any pushback to this initiative, Jamaica is not going to take kindly to you and your activities. I cannot say it any stronger than that, because it is coming to me that there are some elements. And I want it to be clearly understood that this is not just a groundbreaking activity on the part of Jamaica and global tourism. It is a seminal and critical social legislation that is key to worker security and the future of our people. And it must be respected by all. Madam Speaker, the building out of housing and, creature comforts for the workers is a very important part. And I'm very proud to say that we have been investing in tourism housing. The Tourism Enhancement Fund began with a $1 billion allocation, if you recall, as way back as 2010, when Prime Minister Golding was the Prime Minister. And we have continued that program. And we are proud to tell you that we have provided housing support and also settlement support for hundreds of tourism workers. And at the moment, we are in Grange Pen providing 535 families with settlement arrangements, providing road, water, telephone, light, well, not so much telephone, but definitely light and sewage system. And that will be done, and then we go to Negril, and we go also into St. Anne. And we are moving around the island each year with a different project to enhance the capacity of the workers of the industry to have a better standard of living and quality of life. Madam Speaker, investment in the tourism industry continues, and we are very proud. In fact, the Prime Minister and I only this morning, before we came here, met with one of the largest investors that is currently on the island. And we were going through the plans for the Princess Hotel and Casino in Green Island, and a very exciting prospect of 2,037 rooms, well on the way with construction to employ in the end nearly 4,000 people. This is the kind of development and investment that we continue with. I could, Madam Speaker, enumerate the many, starting with Princess, of course. We have 2,000 rooms coming with Hard Rock. We have 1,000 rooms coming with Sandals from beaches in St. Anne. We have the Viva Wyndham to the north side of Negril with 1,000 rooms. We have Rio in Trelawney, in Falmouth, 700 rooms. That groundbreaking will be done on the 20th of April. We have the new Secrets Resort for Richmond in St. Anne with 700 rooms and 280 rooms, also Secrets Dreams, as it is called, in Montego Bay. Bahia Principe to have expansion, and a number of others. A total of some 8,500 new rooms to come on board within the next 5 years. Madam Speaker, this will be the largest wave of tourism development and expansion in the history of Jamaica. Madam Speaker, we are satisfied that notwithstanding the COVID disruptions, the investment climate in Jamaica remains strong and buoyant, and the appetite to invest in Jamaica is very strong. Madam Speaker, cruise tourism will now take off. And you know we have had problems, and perhaps the segment of tourism that's been affected most by the pandemic has been the cruise. And as the ships stop sailing and the issues of protocols really works hard, and the CDC and everybody were very strong and firm, and cruise has been an ecosystem for virus development and so on. Now that we are in the pulse, the Anthropulse, cruise ship is back. And we are very satisfied that Jamaica is preparing for it. The Prime Minister in his presentation indicated the steps that the Port Authority is taking to expand and improve the port facilities across the island and to enable Jamaica to develop to become a particular home port. And we're excited about that home port possibility. We've started already with the AIDA coming out of Europe, that home ports in Montego Bay on the weekend. Now with Montego Bay, Falmouth, Ocho-Rios, and the Prime Minister has given instruction with regards to Port Antonio for the development of a port of call in Port Antonio. And the Port Royal, which had a ship only last week, Mariella, and we're going to have more calls there. Jamaica needs one more port that we're working on the South Coast, Minister Green. Yes, on the South Coast, and then we would have a full multi-port, not modal yet, coming up to modal, but a multi-port destination that will allow Jamaica to have its own itinerary. So now you can come to Montego Bay, go to Falmouth, then on to Ocho-Rios, then to Port Antonio, over to Port Royal, into St. Elizabeth, and then back to Montego Bay, and you would have had a full. And the good news here is that we have the capacity for it, because we have each destination with its own peculiarities. Madam Speaker, we continue to build the capacity of Jamaica to be connected to the rest of the world. And this is the essence of what our marketing is all about. It's about how do we ensure that Jamaica can be reached from any part of the world. And I'm pleased to advise you that during our marketing blitz in North America, American Airlines executive confirmed as much as 17 non-stop flights per day on many major routes to Jamaica, from Miami, Dallas, Charlotte, Chicago, Philadelphia, and several other critical gateways. Madam Speaker, we continue to work with other airlines, JetBlue, and out of Canada we have WestJet, and now we're looking at some new airlines that are floating, providing opportunities for new destination of entry from Canada into Jamaica, out of the West Coast, Halifax, and areas like those. Madam Speaker, a new Caribbean Jet Air from Curaçao is intended to also begin operation. We have one weekly flight out of Switzerland. We have flights out of Zurich. We have flights out of Frontier is offering new non-stop service, Madam Speaker, from Miami, Atlanta, Orlando, and other places to Montego Bay. And now they want to give us 2 to 3 weekly direct flights from Denver, Colorado into Montego Bay. Eurowings, Madam Speaker, Europe's largest point-to-point airline, began its inaugural trip on November 3 from Frankfurt, Germany to Montego Bay and Sangsters. Madam Speaker, TUI, Belgium, which is one of our largest partners, continue to provide the Dreamliner's Boeing 787 into Montego Bay with roughly 300 seats on a daily basis. Madam Speaker, we are looking to new markets. We are looking to new markets, and we are also looking to new destinations. And I want to make the point now, and I hope that Mr. Mike Henry is not here. Oh, but I hope he's listening. Because I think Jamaica puts itself now in a unique and special position in the Caribbean, in that we are the only country in the English-speaking with 3 international airports. Now we can have direct flights from the United States, or a key market, from Canada and elsewhere, to 3 locations, so that Jamaica now can be accessible within an hour and a half from 3 points of entry. Norman Manley International Airport, 1 hour to Ocho Rios. And when the South Coast Highway is done, through St. Thomas and into Portland, 1 hour to Port Antonio. We'll be able from Ocho Rios, an hour and a half to Port Antonio. From Ocho Rios, an hour to Montego Bay. From Montego Bay, an hour to Negril. What a country. We'll be connected all around by air. Hold on, you don't understand. You don't understand the marketing importance of that. When I go, hold on, guess what? Lisa, yes, read the book. You know, it's funny. You know how long Montego Bay was the only place that existed in Jamaica? You know how long, and you will remember this with a little chuckle. You will remember this with a little chuckle. How long Negril, for example, was the only destination. I remember in the 70s, people were flying and said, I'm going to Negril. So when they reached Montego Bay, and they said, okay, you're in Montego Bay. So, okay, which flight do we have to take to Negril? Because as far as they're concerned, Jamaica was Negril. Well, we are going to get a Rockabessa on the map. We are going to get Boscobel on the map. We are going to get Galena on the map. We are going to get all of St. Mary on the map. Because in our wider discussions and in looking at how we are structuring the destinations in Jamaica, that with the new airport, and Mike Henry, I want you wherever you are to take credit. Hello, Mike Henry, wherever you are, I want you to take credit for that vision of having Bobby Montague, wherever you are, I want you to take credit because you were there assiduously working at it. And now the new minister, Audley Shaw, who is the man who actually signed the document. He was there with me. He was there with me when we got the team from American Airlines to agree that on the 5th of November, 2022, the first flight from Miami to Boscobel will be inaugurated. So, you know, Madam Speaker, what that does is to open up the entire eastern side of Jamaica for the tourism that it was always intended to be. And so the Prime Minister has announced what the plans are for Portland and Port Antonio. That fits neatly into that process as we build the infrastructure for it. But St. Thomas, and I have a bit on St. Thomas here, the new destination, St. Thomas, Madam Speaker, is now ready. And we are going to be spending somewhere in the region of about $305 million overall in developing the infrastructure for the new destination in St. Thomas. So St. Thomas, Portland, new areas for us. And we are going to emphasize in that area, Madam Speaker, low-density tourism, high net worth, a new demographic that will be big spenders. Go back to the days of the rich and the famous. And we are going to have lifestyle tourism in that area, and we are going to call it the Jamaica Riviera. So we are going to have a new look based on a new approach that brings new jobs and new facilities in there. Madam Speaker, Devon House. Devon House is the gem and a real treasure in the city of Kingston. And we are very proud that Devon House is now being positioned as the gastronomy center of Kingston and arguably the Caribbean. We are spending $102 million this year on building out the courtyard to facilitate the commercial activities that are within that space, but also to provide a commodious arrangement for the commuters and the visitors and the friends who have to come in and to enjoy themselves. Devon House has always been the poor man's place, the place where we go to as children with our little girlfriend and boyfriend and sit down and have a moment, take with pictures and so on. Devon House has been the people's house, and we are going to make sure that the people have a fantastic house and a great surrounding to operate with it. And so we're spending this extra. We're going to build a pop-up kitchen, which is a new concept, where we will invite you to come in and cook. You're coming from church with your family? Come and cook. Around you will be all the commodities that you require, everything. We'll have a chef in situ, and this chef will not cook, but he will guide you how to cook. We're going to use that to bring thousands of guests from all over the world. And a part of it will be to make sure that our teams in Jamaica understand the importance of building family. And this is a very important point, because, you know, so many times families get missed because they don't have anywhere to come together regularly. It's an important little point that we mustn't miss. And Devon House will be that point where families can come and families can cook and eat together at the pop-up kitchen. Madam Speaker, the Tourism Enhancement Fund, as I indicated, was morphed into a new entity. And we are now looking at a number of mega projects, one of which, of course, is the redefinition of the hip strip in Montego Bay. We are looking at how we can reconfigure that whole area to create a new experience in line with the Harmony Park that we just did in conjunction with the UDC. The Harmony Park now provides perhaps the finest area for our people, not just tourists, our people in Montego Bay, Minister Davis, our people in Montego Bay who can go every Sunday now, every day, family and friends, and enjoy a beautiful beach, a great ambience, and can have fun. And we are going to add to that experience a new-looking hip strip that will redefine the waterfront of Montego Bay in that area. $1 billion has been allocated for that. We are going to be looking at expanding Ocho Rios arrangements. Minister Smith, we are going to be spending some more in enabling the experience in Ocho Rios to be more in line with the quality of that destination. We're going to be spending resources on creating new facilities in Falmouth, building better the wonderful artisan village which you have there, theming it and completing that theming to ensure that the first port of call for tourists from the cruise will be the artisan village. Because at the artisan village we'll have artisans in situ whose job will be to take designs from tourists as they come, execute on the design while they are gone to have other experiences, and on their return collect their finished work, pay for it and pay properly for it, and go back with a piece of Jamaica on their person. And this will provide a great conversation piece, among other things, and a huge marketing tool. Because when they go back to their countries, the questions will be asked, wow, where did you get this? Jamaica. And who was the artist? Peter Phillips. Wonderful. Yes? So we will be looking at how to create greater linkages with our small and medium enterprises, provided means by which more resources are provided to enable the small enterprises. And I want to say, Madam Speaker, that 80% of the tourism experience is driven by small and medium enterprises. The tragedy is that only 20% of the returns of tourism go to them. So we want to reverse that. That's an anomaly. That's an asymmetry that is not tolerable. And so we are spending the time and the effort to do three things. One, to train, educate, and broaden their horizon to create more dynamic, diverse, and unique cultural offerings. Secondly, we're providing them with financing through the Exim Bank, the Jamaica National Small Business, and other vehicles to enable them to have low rate credit so that they can spend more resources on building out the capacity of their products. And finally, to provide a marketing arrangement for them through the various entities that we have. Madam Speaker, in closing, Madam Speaker, I want to indicate that the tourism market is one of the constant and accelerating changes elements of the world today. Important trends such as hyper-digitalization, the increasing demand for immersive experiences, the growing sustainable travel movement, the sharp preferences, Madam Speaker, based on the contrast of the various generations. Madam Speaker, we know that many of what has taken place today is not necessarily caused by the pandemic, but have been the consequence of the pandemic. And we want to deal with it and to expedite the responses to it. There are also threats to the industry, with a growing belief among many climate scientists that we have entered the Anthropocene era, with impacts on our natural environment being foremost among those threats. Madam Speaker, the Tourism Strategy and Action Plan, which we are now developing with the support of the IDB, will help us to boost the competitiveness of our destination and products, enhance resilience, as well as develop and deploy mechanisms to promote innovation and entrepreneurship within the sector. Consequently, moving the Tourism Strategy and Action Plan towards finalization during this fiscal year, Madam Speaker, is one of the most critical planning objectives of my ministry now. To accomplish this, we will facilitate greater engagement with a wide range of stakeholders in the public and private sector, with stakeholders in the 6 resort destinations, with investors, with entrepreneurs, to identify opportunities to advance the extended outcomes of the Tourism Strategy and Action Plan. Madam Speaker, last year the Blue Ocean Strategic Framework was introduced. During the current financial year, the Ministry will continue its implementation of this groundbreaking strategy. It will guide the process of gathering data on the shifting preferences of our visitors, provide for suitable accommodation and experiences, ensure that we have suitable governance arrangements to deliver these, and critically, train a first-class workforce to share our world-leading goods and services with our visitors. Moving forward, Madam Speaker, The ministry and its agency will deliver a number of initiatives flowing from this Blue Ocean strategic framework. These include resilience building through business opportunity continuity plans, the innovation incubator that we spoke about, the tourism supplies logistics center that we talk about. Madam Speaker, we have plans to upgrade our public beaches, and I didn't name them all. Murdoch Beach, we have about 6 of such beaches. We're going to be spending over 200 million. And we have Paget. Paget is on the list. Just or Paget? Niger? It's all on the list. And these will include, Madam Speaker, Watson Taylor Park Beach, among others. Other critical elements of strategy will be in intensive work to develop new markets in continents such as Asia, Africa, and South America. This will assist us over the medium to long term to cushion fallout in our traditional market. At the same time, support for the development of small and medium tourism enterprises will be expanded so that a larger number of participants can reap a greater benefit from the tourism industry. Madam Speaker, I mentioned the new premier destination of St. Thomas, but just to close by saying that we intend up between now and 2030, and the member from St. Thomas, he's not here, and the member is very much over there. Right. 4,170 new rooms for St. Thomas. 230,000 overnight visitors we expect to have. 244 million US of visitor expenditure. 22 million US in tax contribution to you. 13,000 total direct and indirect jobs. 174 million full contribution from the tourism to GDP, sir. And 508 million of private investment. And the private investment has started. I think you heard it last week. That rock. You heard them? You remember? $1 billion of investment into new villas in St. Thomas. And that's the media. And finally, 33 million in public-private partnership. So, Madam Speaker, by applying the Blue Ocean strategy to reset tourism, the sector will within 2 years return to its pre-COVID-19 performance with record arrivals and tourism earnings. This will ensure that our vibrant tourist sector remains the driving force behind Jamaica's post-COVID economic recovery. Madam Speaker, and I just want to say this to the member from Northeast St. Catherine, baby pool is on the cards. 10 million for a baby pool to be developed. So with the relaxation of our COVID-19 protocols, covered with the aforementioned strategy and policy, it is now time, Madam Speaker, for us to let go the bird. And this symbolic, if not only looking forward, Madam Speaker, to a complete recovery, but to thrive, because when you let go the bird, my bird flies. And so, Madam Speaker, the industry will thrive, and we will thrive beyond the pre-COVID levels. We will therefore continue to push forward with a spirit of hope for a brighter future, with a prosperous and prosperity, Madam Speaker, for every Jamaican. Together, we have the opportunity to build forward stronger. The seeds have been sown for prosperity. Tourism for a shared Jamaican prosperity. May God bless you and bless Jamaica, land we love.
Very good
Thank you,
presentation,
Madam Speaker.
Minister Bartlett.
Mine is the duty to... Give him a break. Madam Speaker, we will continue the sectoral debate by asking you to invite the member from Northwest Manchester and opposition spokesman on transport and other things to make his presentation. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
Member Phillips, before you commence, Member Phillips, we took note after we began the session today of approximately 15 students here from Mile Gully High. We'd like to welcome you to the sitting today. I believe the students from Mile Gully High are accompanied by a teacher. Welcome to the house. There are other persons sitting in the gallery. Some I recognize having come out to support Minister Bartlett in his presentation for tourism today, and some who are here for Member Phillips. Member Peter Phillips, it is a pleasure to see you in the house today. Welcome.